My name echoed through the auditorium speakers, bouncing off walls decorated with banners and balloons. Cameras flashed from every direction as I walked across the stage in my cap and gown. My classmates cheered from their seats, their voices blending into one wave of celebration. 4 years of late nights, endless assignments, and balancing work with studies had led to this single moment. But my eyes kept drifting to the front row. The seat I'd reserved weeks ago sat empty. The chair with reserved taped across the back mocked me with its vacancy. Kellen wasn't there. My husband, who'd promised he'd be there no matter what, had vanished. I accepted my diploma with trembling hands, forcing my lips into a smile I didn't feel. The dean shook my hand and said something congratulatory, but the words barely registered. My phone buzzed in the small bag tucked under my gown. I already knew what it said. I'd read it minutes before walking on stage. Can't make it. Something came up. Don't make a big deal. The shame burned through my chest as I descended the stage steps. Then my phone buzzed again. A notification from an unknown number lit up my screen. I waited until the ceremony ended before checking my phone properly. Other graduates hugged their families while I stood alone near the exit, fingers shaking as I opened the message. It was a photo. A selfie from someone named Marcy. I recognized her immediately as Kellen's co-worker from the marketing firm. She wore a bright smile and dangling earrings, sitting at what looked like an upscale restaurant. Soft lighting. Wine glasses on white tablecloths. The kind of place we used to visit for anniversaries before he stopped caring. The timestamp showed it was sent exactly when Kellen texted his excuse. My stomach dropped, but it was the caption that made my blood freeze. Can't believe she still thinks you're busy at work. The words hit like a punch. Me. They were talking about me. Laughing about me. While I stood on that stage accepting my degree alone, he was sharing expensive wine with her. I screenshot the message with mechanical precision, my hands no longer shaking but steady with something colder than anger. Then I drove home in silence, rehearsing calm words I didn't feel. Kellen arrived home 3 hours after me. I heard his keys jangle in the lock, followed by his heavy footsteps in the hallway. He walked past me without acknowledgement, heading straight for the kitchen. "How was work?" asked, keeping my voice level and light. "Busy. Exhausting. You know how it is." He opened the refrigerator and grabbed a beer without looking at me. "Don't start, Alina. I'm tired." I wasn't starting anything. Just asking about your day. He rolled his eyes. "Why do you always make things complicated?" "I had an emergency meeting. I couldn't get away." "Stop being so needy about every little thing." Every little thing. My graduation. 4 years of work reduced to petty complaints in his mind. "You mentioned a meeting," I said carefully. "Was it with the client from downtown?" "Yeah. The downtown account. Took forever." He twisted the cap off his beer, finally meeting my eyes with annoyance. But I'd already checked his work calendar that morning. No downtown meeting was scheduled. The lie sat between us like a third person in the room. He set his phone on the counter, screen facing up, and walked toward the bathroom. The device lay there, unlocked and glowing. My heart hammered as I glanced toward the hallway. Water ran in the bathroom. I had maybe 2 minutes. I picked up his phone with careful fingers and opened his messages. The thread with Marcy sat at the top, recent and active. I scrolled quickly, my eyes catching phrases that made my chest tighten. "She never notices anything anyway. You're way more fun than going to some boring ceremony. Can't wait to see you this weekend." Further down I found a photo. A silver necklace with a small pendant shaped like a heart. Marcy's message beneath it read, "I can't wait to wear this. You always know what I like." Then I saw what he'd written about me 2 days earlier, responding to Marcy's question about whether I suspected anything. No way. She's too ungrateful and needy to see past her own drama. The words burned into my memory. Ungrateful. Needy. This was how he described me to the woman he was betraying me with. The water shut off. Footsteps approached. I set the phone down exactly where he'd left it and moved to the couch, grabbing a magazine. "What are you doing with my phone?" Kellen stood in the doorway, eyes sharp with suspicion. "Your phone?" I looked up with practiced confusion. "I was just sitting here reading. Your phone's on the counter where you left it." He walked over and checked the screen, scrutinizing the apps as if searching for evidence of tampering. I kept my expression neutral, flipping magazine pages I wasn't actually reading. "You sure you didn't touch it?" "Why would I touch your phone, Kellen? I have my own." I gestured to my device sitting on the coffee table, making the question seem absurd. He stared at me for another moment before relaxing slightly. "Just asking. You've been acting weird lately." I hadn't been acting weird. I'd been working full-time while finishing my degree, exhausted and stretched thin, while he spent evenings texting another woman. But I said nothing. I just smiled and returned to the magazine. He believed me because he always assumed I was naive, trusting, too focused on my studies to notice his lies. That assumption had protected him for months, maybe longer. But this time I wasn't the person he thought I was. This time I was watching him with completely new eyes, seeing patterns I'd ignored before. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend, Talia. "I saw something today. You need to call me." I waited until Kellen left for his morning run before calling Talia back. She answered on the first ring, her voice tight with concern. "Where are you right now?" she asked. "Home. Alone." "What's going on?" She exhaled slowly. "I saw Kellen last night. At Marcello's, that Italian place downtown. He was with a woman." I almost didn't say anything because I thought maybe it was work-related. But Alina, they weren't acting professional. My grip tightened on the phone. "What do you mean?" They were laughing. Really laughing. Leaning close across the table. She touched his hand multiple times. "And he looked at her the way he used to look at you, back when things were good between you two." The confirmation settled over me like ice water. Hearing it from someone else made it undeniably real. "What time was this?" I asked. "Around 7. Maybe 7:15. Exactly when my graduation ceremony started. While my name was being called, while I walked across that stage alone. He was leaning across a candlelit table toward Marcy. "Are you okay?" Talia's voice softened with worry. "I don't know yet," I answered honestly. "But I think I'm about to be." "Are you ready to do something about this?" she asked. I thought about the screenshots hidden in my email. The lies. The empty seat. The cruel words he'd written. "Yes," I said. "I am." I spent the next 2 days reviewing my memories with this new lens of awareness. Suddenly, patterns emerged that I dismissed as coincidence or bad timing. Our 5th anniversary dinner that he cancelled last minute, claiming an urgent work crisis. I'd eaten alone at the restaurant, embarrassed, while the waiter cleared his untouched place setting. The weekend trip I'd planned for my birthday that he said we couldn't afford, even though our joint account showed we had the money. 2 weeks later, I noticed a large withdrawal I hadn't made. The times I'd excitedly shared news about my academic progress, only to have him change the subject or check his phone mid-sentence, as if my accomplishments bored him. Every missed moment, every dismissal, every time he made me feel small for wanting basic respect and attention. It wasn't just Marcy. It was years of emotional neglect dressed up as me being too demanding. I was organizing these thoughts into a document on my laptop when I noticed something odd. A notification popped up from our shared tablet, the one we used for household bills and shopping lists. Banking alert. I opened it, expecting to see our usual joint account statement. Instead, I found a completely different account. One I'd never seen before. One with only Kellen's name on it. The account showed months of activity. Regular deposits that matched amounts missing from our joint finances. Withdrawals at restaurants I'd never visited. ATM transactions in neighborhoods across town. Some purchases were small. Coffee shops and lunch spots. But others were significant. A jewelry store charge for $900. multiple payments to a place called Urban Loft Suites. I searched the business name. Extended stay apartments. The kind of place someone might rent for private meetings. 4 affairs. The most recent transaction was dated 3 days ago. The day before my graduation. Another jewelry purchase. This time for $400. I took screenshots of everything, my hand steady now with purpose rather than shock. The evidence was mounting into an undeniable picture. This wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. This was calculated, ongoing, and funded by money that should have been ours. I saved everything to a secure cloud folder with a password he'd never guess. Then I made a phone call to someone I never thought I'd need to contact. Benson Law Offices, how may I help you? I'd like to schedule a consultation, I said. Family law. Divorce proceedings. The lawyer's office sat in a quiet building downtown, 3 floors above a coffee shop. I arrived 15 minutes early, clutching a folder with printed documents and my phone containing even more evidence. Arlo Benson was younger than I expected, maybe mid-30s, with kind eyes that turned serious as I explained my situation. He listened without interrupting, taking occasional notes on a yellow legal pad. I'm not ready to file anything yet, I clarified. I just need to know my rights, what I should be gathering, what steps to take. Smart, he said, nodding with approval. Most people come to me after they've already confronted their spouse and destroyed any chance of documenting properly. You're ahead of the curve. He explained community property laws, asset division, and what documentation would strengthen my case. Bank statements, text messages, proof of financial misconduct, witness statements. Does your husband know you finished your degree this year? Arlo asked suddenly. Yes. He was supposed to attend my graduation but didn't show. Arlo's expression shifted. He leaned forward slightly. And are you planning to start a new job soon? Higher salary. I have interviews scheduled next month. The degree qualifies me for positions that pay significantly more than my current work. Then we need to move faster than I thought, he said, his tone urgent. Arlo pulled out a different folder from his desk drawer and flipped it open. Did you know your husband refinanced your car loan 6 weeks ago? My confusion must have shown on my face because he turned his laptop screen toward me. There, in black and white, was a refinancing document. Our car, the sedan we'd bought together 3 years ago, now had a loan in only Kellen's name. I didn't sign anything, I said, my voice hollow. Exactly. Which means he either forged your signature or removed you from the title through other means. Either way, it's suspicious timing. You're about to graduate, about to earn more money, and suddenly he's moving shared assets into only his name. The implications settled over me like a heavy blanket. He's preparing for something. I believe so. And if I'm right, he's planning to file first and catch you off guard. He's probably waiting until you secure that higher-paying job, which would affect support calculations in his favor. Arlo's assessment was clinical but clear. Kellen wasn't just cheating. He was strategically positioning himself for a divorce that would benefit him financially while leaving me with as little as possible. What do I do? Yes. You document everything. And you get ahead of him before he makes his move. I left the office with a checklist and a timeline. I had work to do. I created a spreadsheet that night after Kellen fell asleep. 1 column for dates. Another for incidents. 3rd for evidence. Each entry was factual, stripped of emotion. Just raw data that built an undeniable pattern. May 15th. Missed anniversary dinner. Claimed work emergency. Location data showed him at Marcelo's restaurant. June 3rd. Large withdrawal from joint account. $900. Matches jewelry purchase from secret account. June 20th. My graduation ceremony. Deceit. Photo evidence of him at restaurant with Marcy at same time. The list grew longer as I scrolled through old texts, bank statements and calendar entries. Every lie. Every dismissal. Every moment he'd made me feel crazy for asking basic questions. Kellen barely noticed my new distance. In fact, He seemed more comfortable now that my graduation was over. As if my big day had been an annoying obligation he was relieved to have behind him. He treated me with even less respect than before, leaving dishes in the sink for me to clean, interrupting me when I spoke, spending entire evenings on his phone without explanation. 3 days after my consultation with Arlo, Kellen made an announcement over breakfast. I have to travel for work next week. 3 days in Portland. Big client presentation. He delivered the information without looking up from his phone, as if my response didn't matter. When do you leave? He asked. Monday morning. Back Thursday night. I nodded and sipped my coffee, already planning how I'd use those 3 days. Monday arrived. Kellen packed a small suitcase and left at dawn, barely saying goodbye. I watched his car disappear down the street, then immediately opened the location sharing app on my phone. We'd set it up years ago for practical reasons, so we could coordinate pickups and find each other in crowded places. He'd never turned it off because he never suspected I'd check. His location showed him driving toward the highway, heading in the right direction for the airport. I relaxed slightly. Maybe this trip was legitimate. But on Tuesday afternoon something changed. I was at work when his location suddenly pinged from inside the city. Not at the airport. Not in Portland. Right here, less than 5 miles from our house. I left work early claiming a headache. The address on my screen led me to a residential neighborhood I didn't recognize. Older apartment buildings with exterior staircases and shared parking lots. I parked down the street and waited. 20 minutes passed. Then Kellen's car pulled into the lot. He got out, looked around briefly, and walked toward one of the buildings. He climbed the stairs to the second floor and knocked on a door. It opened immediately. Marcy stood in the doorway, wearing casual clothes and a silver necklace I recognized from the photos. She smiled and pulled him inside. The door closed. I sat in my car watching that closed door, and felt something break and rebuild inside me simultaneously. I drove home and finally let myself cry. Not just tears but deep, shaking sobs that came from a place I'd been holding closed for months, maybe years. I cried for the marriage I thought I had. For the man I'd believed in. For the version of myself who'd tried so hard to be enough, only to learn I never was. Not because I was lacking but because he was incapable of seeing value in front of him. The crying lasted maybe 20 minutes. Then it stopped. Not gradually but suddenly, like a switch flipping off. In its place came something harder, clearer. A sense of absolute certainty about what needed to happen next. My phone rang. Arlo's name appeared on the screen. There's a way to reveal this that protects you completely, he said without preamble. But you'll need to be strategic. Are you ready to hear the plan? I wiped my face and straightened my shoulders. Tell me everything. He outlined a strategy that was both simple and devastating. Gather everyone who needed to see the truth in one place. Present the evidence calmly and completely. Have the legal documents ready. Control the narrative before Kellen could spin his version. It'll be uncomfortable, Arlo warned. But it'll also be final. No, he said, she said. No gaslighting. Just facts that speak for themselves. When? Yes. Whenever you're ready. Soon. Before he suspects anything. I know exactly when, I said, an idea forming. And I know exactly how. I spent Wednesday printing documents, bank statements, screenshots of text messages, location data, photos, everything organized in clear plastic sleeves inside a navy folder. The evidence was damning and comprehensive. No room for excuses or alternative explanations. Just his actions, documented and undeniable. I hid the folder in my dresser drawer, beneath old sweaters I never wore. Then I started planning something I never thought I'd have the courage to do. Kellen came home Thursday evening. His suitcase full of clothes that hadn't been worn, tags from a hotel he'd never stayed at carefully saved for reimbursement. The lies came so easily to him now that he didn't even bother making them convincing. How was Portland? Yes. Good. Productive. The client loved our pitch. He smiled, pleased with his fictional success. I was holding printer paper when he walked into the room. He froze, eyes darting to the pages in my hand. "What's that?" His voice carried a sharp edge of panic. I looked down at the papers as if noticing them for the first time. Bank statements. Transaction records. His secret account displayed in clear black numbers. "Just some bills," I said casually. "Organizing our finances." His face paled. "Those are private. They showed up in our shared tablet notifications. I was just filing them." I set the papers on my desk, watching him carefully. "You shouldn't go through my stuff," he snapped. "Our stuff," I corrected. "We're married. These are joint finances, aren't they?" He recovered quickly, switching tactics with practiced ease. The panic disappeared, replaced by the patient condescension he used when gaslighting me. "Alina, you're stressed. Graduation's over, you're tired. And now you're seeing problems where there aren't any." His voice was gentle, almost pitying. "That account is just for work expenses. Nothing secret. You're being paranoid." "Am I?" "Yes. And honestly, it's concerning. Ever since you finished school, you've been different. Nij, maybe you should talk to someone. A therapist might help with the anxiety." There it was. Classic move. Make me doubt my own perceptions. Suggest I'm mentally unstable. Paint my reasonable concerns as irrational fears. "And Marcy?" I asked quietly. "Is that paranoia too?" His expression flickered. Just for a second, but I caught it. Fear. Then it smoothed back into false concern. "Marcy's a coworker. Friend. You're twisting innocent professional relationships into something they're not because you're insecure." He stepped closer, taking my hands in his. "I love you. I'm sorry I missed your graduation. I know that hurt you. But you can't let that one mistake make you suspicious of everything. That's not healthy." His words were perfectly calibrated to sound reasonable. Caring even. Someone listening from outside might think he was being patient with an unreasonable wife. But I'd seen the evidence. I knew the truth. His apology was just another tool in his manipulation. I let my shoulders relax, softened my expression. "You're right. Sorry. I've been stressed." Relief flooded his face. "I understand. Let's move past this, okay?" He nodded. "Actually, I was thinking. We never properly celebrated my graduation. What if we hosted a small dinner? Just close friends and family. Saturday night." His smile widened. "That's a great idea. I'd love that." He thought he'd won. Thought I'd accepted his lies and explanations. Thought everything would return to how it was, with him controlling the narrative and me accepting whatever story he fed me. He had no idea what I was actually planning. Friday morning, while Kellen showered, I picked up his phone from the nightstand. He'd left it unlocked again, comfortable in his assumption that I'd accepted his explanations. I opened his messages with Marcy and typed carefully, matching his usual tone. "Hey, change of plans. Having a graduation dinner for Alina tomorrow night at our place. Want you to come. She knows we're friends and I think it would mean a lot. 7 p.m. The response came within minutes. "Really? That's so sweet of you. Love to. Should I bring anything? Just yourself. See you then." I deleted the conversation from his phone and slipped it back onto the nightstand. The trap was set. That afternoon I called Talia and a few other close friends, explaining I wanted to host a small celebration. Everyone enthusiastically agreed. I also sent an email to Arlo. "I'm ready. Can you attend as a guest tomorrow evening? I'll need a witness. Legal counsel present." His response came quickly. "I'll be there. Bring the folder." Saturday morning, Kellen woke up in unusually good spirits. He offered to help with preparations, running to the store for wine and appetizers. He was attentive and affectionate, probably relieved that I'd seemingly dropped my suspicions. Played along perfectly, smiling, thanking him for his help, acting like the grateful wife he wanted me to be. But inside I was steel. Cold, focused, and absolutely certain about what was coming. At 6:30, I placed the navy folder at the center of our dining table. Not hidden. Not tucked away. Right there in plain sight, waiting. Guests started arriving at 7. Talia came first, her eyes questioning when she saw my calm demeanor. I squeezed her hand briefly and whispered, "Trust me." 2 of my classmates arrived next, carrying congratulatory flowers. Then my cousin with her husband. Then 2 more friends from work. The house filled with warm voices and laughter. Kellen played the perfect host, shaking hands and pouring wine. He told everyone how proud he was of me, how hard I'd worked, how much he admired my dedication. The words sounded hollow to me now, but others smiled and nodded. At 7:15 the doorbell rang again. Kellen moved to answer it, still laughing at something my cousin's husband had said. He opened the door. Marcy stood there, holding a bottle of wine, wearing a dress and that silver necklace. Her smile was bright and friendly. Then she saw me standing in the living room. Saw the other guests. Her smile faltered. "Kellen." She looked confused. "What's going on? You said this was just a small dinner." The room went quiet. Everyone turned to look at Kellen, whose face had drained of color. "Marcy," he stammered. I thought." She stepped inside, her confusion shifting to concern. "Why didn't you tell me this was a party? You made it sound like just the 3 of us." "The 3 of us." Talia's voice cut through the silence. "Why would it be the 3 of you?" Kellen's eyes darted between Marcy and me, panic replacing his earlier confidence. I walked slowly to the dining table and placed my hand on the navy folder. "Before we eat," I said calmly, "I'd like to show everyone something." I opened the folder with steady hands and pulled out the first document. A bank statement showing Kellen's secret account. This is an account my husband opened without telling me. It contains money transferred from our joint finances. Money that was supposed to be ours. I passed the document to my cousin, who looked at it with widening eyes before passing it to the person next to her. Kellen found his voice. "Alina, this isn't the time or place." "You're right," I agreed. "The time and place was my graduation ceremony. The one you missed to be at a restaurant with Marcy." Marcy's face went pale. "What? Kellen, you said you had a work crisis. You said that's why you couldn't go." "I did have a crisis," he insisted, but his voice lacked conviction. I pulled out the next document. The screenshot of Marcy's text message with the photo from the restaurant, time-stamped exactly when my name was called at graduation. This was sent while I was walking across the stage to accept my degree. Alone. The room was silent except for the sound of paper being passed from hand to hand. Faces that had been smiling minutes ago now showed shock and disgust. "There's more," I continued. I laid out the text messages. The conversations where he called me ungrateful and needy. The location data showing him at Marcy's apartment when he claimed to be in Portland. The jewelry purchases. Marcy's hand flew to the necklace at her throat. "You said you bought this with your bonus." "He did," I said. "A bonus from our joint account. $900. She pulled the necklace off and threw it at Kellen's feet. "You lied to me. You told me you were separated. That you were just waiting for the right time to make it official." "Separated?" I looked at Kellen. "Is that what you told her?" He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came out. Marcy's eyes filled with tears. "Tell them about the money," she said suddenly. Everyone turned to her. "Tell them," she repeated, her voice rising. "Tell them how you were planning to file for divorce right after she got her new job. Tell them how you refinanced assets to hide them. Tell them everything." The room erupted. My cousin stood up, her face flushed with anger. Talia moved to my side, her hand on my shoulder. My classmates looked between Kellen and me with expressions of shock and sympathy. Kellen finally tried to defend himself. "This is all a misunderstanding. Alina's taking things out of context. She's been stressed and paranoid since graduation ended. Paranoid? Marcy's voice was sharp. You told me you loved me. You said we'd be together as soon as the divorce was finalized. You said she was impossible to live with. I never said that. Yes, you did. You said it multiple times. She looked at me, her anger now mixed with regret. I'm sorry. I wouldn't have gone near him if I'd known the truth. He painted you as some terrible person who made his life miserable. But you're not, are you? You're just someone who was trying to finish school while her husband lied to everyone. I didn't respond. I just pulled out the final document. A separation agreement prepared by Arlo, with fair division of assets and clear terms. I've already filed, I said. This is your copy. You can sign it now, or you can fight it and have everything we've discussed tonight become part of public court records. Your choice. Kellen's face crumpled. You can't do this. I already did. The doorbell rang. I walked past Kellen, who stood frozen in the center of the room, and opened the door. Arlo stood there, briefcase in hand, looking every bit the professional lawyer he was. Everyone, I said. This is Arlo Benson, my attorney. He's here to witness the signing and ensure everything is handled properly. Kellen looked around the room at faces that had been friendly an hour ago, and now regarded him with contempt and disgust. His mask had shattered completely. He tried everything in the next 30 minutes. First came the bargaining, promises to change, swearing he'd end things with Marcy and commit to our marriage properly. When that didn't work, he switched to tears. Real, desperate crying that might have moved me once, before I knew what he was capable of. Then came the threats, legal action, contesting the divorce, making things difficult, dragging me through court. Arlo calmly responded to each threat with legal facts that made it clear Kellen had no leverage. The evidence was overwhelming. The witnesses present had seen and heard everything. Fighting would only make things worse and more expensive for him. Finally, defeated, Kellen picked up the pen. His hand shook as he signed each page, his tears falling onto the paper in spots that made the ink blur. Marcy had already left, slamming the door behind her after telling Kellen she never wanted to see him again. My friends stayed, forming a protective circle around me while Arlo collected the signed documents. You'll receive the filed copies within a week, Arlo told me professionally. Your assets are protected, and the division is fair and legal. He can't contest anything without looking foolish. Kellen stood up, looking around the room one final time. No one met his eyes. He gathered his jacket and wallet, moving like someone in a dream. I'll come get my things next week, he muttered. No, I said firmly. You'll coordinate with Arlo to schedule a time when I'm not here. You don't enter this house again without supervision. He nodded and walked to the door. As it closed behind him, I felt something lift from my chest. A weight I'd been carrying so long I'd forgotten what breathing freely felt like. The house cleared out slowly. People hugged me, murmured support, and promised to check in soon. Talia was the last to leave, standing in the doorway with concern etched on her face. Are you okay? She asked. I will be, I said. And I believed it. After everyone left, I cleaned up quietly, washing wine glasses, putting away untouched appetizers. The mundane tasks felt grounding, normal, safe. My phone buzzed. Text from Arlo. Everything's filed and processed. You handled that with remarkable composure. If you need anything, call anytime. I replied with thanks and set the phone down. The house was quiet now, but it didn't feel empty. Felt peaceful. I walked through each room, seeing it with new eyes. This would be my space now. A place where I wasn't belittled or dismissed or made to feel like my accomplishments meant nothing. In the bedroom, I pulled out my diploma from where I'd carefully stored it after the ceremony. I held it, reading my name printed in formal script beneath the university seal. 4 years of work. Late nights and early mornings. Balancing everything while being told I was asking too much by simply wanting support. I'd done it anyway. Finished. Succeeded. And now I was free to build whatever came next without someone undermining me at every turn. The next few weeks passed in a blur of paperwork and adjustments. Arlo handled the legal proceedings with efficiency that made everything remarkably smooth. Kellen didn't contest anything. He couldn't. The evidence was too strong and his behavior too documented. I had friends help me change the locks. We painted one wall in the living room a deep blue I'd always wanted but Kellen said was too bold. I rearranged furniture, donated items that reminded me too much of him, and slowly made the space entirely mine. I also started interviewing for new positions. My fresh degree opened doors I couldn't have accessed before. Companies that had ignored my applications suddenly wanted to talk. Managers were impressed by my credentials and experience. 3 weeks after the dinner, I received a job offer. A position at a tech company downtown with a salary nearly double what I'd been making. The work aligned perfectly with my degree, and the company culture emphasized respect and growth. I accepted immediately. Word spread quickly about what had happened. Kellen's co-workers heard the story from Marcy before she transferred to a different department to escape the awkwardness. His friends distanced themselves when they learned the truth. Even his family reached out to apologize for his behavior. Talia forwarded me a screenshot from someone we both knew. Apparently, Kellen had tried to restart things with Marcy, but she'd blocked him on everything. He'd also tried dating apps, but women who knew the story recognized his profile and warned others. The consequences he'd avoided for so long had finally caught up to him. 2 months after that dinner, I attended my first day at the new job. I wore professional clothes I'd bought with my own money, carried a bag containing my laptop and that framed diploma, and walked into a building full of opportunities. My new manager greeted me warmly, introducing me to the team as someone whose background and skills would strengthen their projects. People shook my hand with genuine welcome. No condescension. No dismissiveness. Just professional respect. During my lunch break, I sat in a cafe near the office and checked my phone. An email from my university had arrived, congratulating me on being featured in their alumni newsletter. They'd written about my journey, completing a degree while working full-time and overcoming personal challenges to succeed. I stared at my name in print, in a publication celebrating achievement, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pride. Pure, uncomplicated pride in what I'd accomplished. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. For a moment anxiety spiked. Then I opened it. "Hi Alina, this is Marcy. I know this is unexpected. I wanted to apologize properly for my part in what happened. I was wrong to believe his lies without questioning more. I'm sorry for the hurt I caused. I hope you're doing well." I read it twice. Then I typed a simple response. "Thank you for the apology. I've moved forward. I hope you can too." I didn't need her apology to heal, but accepting it felt like closing one more door on that chapter. That evening I drove past our old apartment complex. The place where Kellen and I had lived before buying the house. I hadn't been there in years, but curiosity pulled me off my usual route. I slowed as I passed. Through a ground floor window, I could see someone moving around inside one of the units. For a moment, I thought I recognized Kellen's silhouette. He'd been forced to downsize significantly after the divorce settlement. The house had been sold, the proceeds split according to the agreement. I didn't stop. Didn't feel any satisfaction in seeing him in smaller circumstances. I just felt nothing. No anger, no vindication, no lingering pain. Just neutral acknowledgement that he was living his consequences while I was building something new. I drove to my favorite coffee shop instead. The barista knew my order by heart now and greeted me with a smile. I took my drink to a corner table and opened my laptop. Started writing. Not for publication or any grand purpose. Just documenting my thoughts and experiences. Processing everything that had happened while capturing lessons I'd learned. The biggest lesson was simple but had taken me years to truly understand. Respect isn't something you negotiate or earn through perfect behavior. It's a baseline requirement. The bare minimum of how people who claim to love you should treat you. When someone consistently fails to meet that minimum, when they make you feel small or demanding for wanting basic decency, leaving isn't giving up. It's protecting yourself. And there's extraordinary strength in knowing when to walk away. 6 months after that dinner, I attended a company event celebrating project completions. My team had achieved something significant, and management wanted to recognize our work. I stood on a small stage, accepting acknowledgement for my contributions. People applauded. My manager praised my skills publicly. Co-workers I respected congratulated me afterward with genuine warmth. This time, I wasn't searching the crowd for an empty seat or fighting disappointment over someone's absence. I was fully present, soaking in recognition I'd earned, surrounded by people who valued my work. After the event, Talia called. "How'd it go?" "Really well. It felt good. You sound different. Lighter." "I am lighter." It was true. The anger and hurt had gradually transformed into something better. Clarity, confidence, peace with my choices. Good. You deserve that. We talked for a while longer before hanging up. I drove home through evening traffic, watching the city lights reflect off buildings and windows. The world felt wider now, full of possibilities I could reach for without someone pulling me back. In my house, I hung my new employee badge next to my framed diploma, 2 symbols of the life I'd built after everything fell apart. My phone buzzed one final time that evening. A notification about Kellen appeared in a mutual friend's social media post. He'd commented on something and the algorithm thought I might want to know. I clicked hide without reading it and deleted the app entirely. I didn't need updates on his life. That story was finished. I'd closed the door on him, literally and metaphorically, and built something better on my own terms. He didn't show up for my graduation. But in the end, that empty seat taught me I never needed his presence to rise. I'd been strong enough all along. I just needed to realize it. And now I did.